Hey, Mo Kirin says, just have an update 6 and break the sprint into 2. Thanks for the the project management advice. If there is an opening, we'll let you know. But in the meantime, yeah, just update 5.
Yeah.
We'll crack on with that plan.
Oh, 7 Commanders, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here and this is your first time, then welcome. Where have you been? Anyway, well, it's been a hot minute, hasn't it? Sorry for the lack of videos. Life here has been somewhat crazy over the last few weeks with job interviews, and then my mother came to visit for the first time in nearly 2 years, which was cool. But obviously it's been 2 years since she came, so thanks COVID, you dick. Anyway, I'm back now. Glad to be back. It's awesome. But I did want to address something that I wanted to address in a video a couple of weeks ago, and that is the attitude of Frontier developments towards their customers and their player base, and also just how out of touch they are. So stick around until the end of the video as well, as there's also an important channel update coming too. Before I begin, I want to state that I have not abandoned the beginner series. I know it might look that way, but I haven't. I'm actually working on the money-making video now as we speak, but I also had to buy another version of the game to get the video of what I was actually talking about. I wanted to start from the very, very beginning so that I knew my information was 100% correct and give you the shortest way possible to make as much money as quickly as we can. So that video is coming, I promise. It's just that life has gotten in the way, as it tends to do sometimes. So yes, here we go. So, Frontier, let's face it, we all know just how crappy they can be when speaking to their customers and about their customers, and the blatant disrespect they tend to show us. But it seems to be coming ever more frequent lately. I can't be the only one that's noticed this. Firstly, I'd like to address the community managers and just how unprofessional I find them. Now, I will say I have nothing against these people personally. I am sure they're all lovely. I don't know any of them. I've never spoken to any of them, other than a few words with Arthur at one point on Twitter, and it wasn't even about Elite Dangerous. I think it was about beer, which I miss beer. Anyway, a few weeks ago, in Super Cruise news, I saw one of the worst shows of professionalism that I think I've seen from a publicly traded company for at least a while. A viewer on Twitch asked why not split Update 5 into 2 updates to avoid a delay, and just so they could push the first part out as quickly as possible, as in not let delay it for a week, and do it as a 2-part update. Bruce then decides to name this player and tries to shame them and embarrass them on stream in front of, I think it was about 1,500 people. And he and Zach have a little snigger at that person's expense. Here's the clip.
Hey, Mo Kirin says, just have an update 6 and break the sprint into 2. Thanks for the the project management advice. If there is an opening, we'll let you know. But in the meantime, yeah, just update 5.
Yeah.
We'll crack on with that plan.
Bruce, the way you spoke to this person is unacceptable, mate. You're a public face of your company. They weren't being rude, yet you decided to speak to them like this, and you and Zach have a little snigger and a little giggle about it, as if to say, we're better than you? That's at least how it came across. And I'm not saying sit there and take the BS that gets thrown your way. Not at all. You should have the chance to put someone in their place if they're being rude, but they weren't being rude. I get that chat is not a friendly place at the moment, but this sort of redirected frustration is highly unprofessional and highlights nothing other than your age. It came across as very immature and very unprofessional. I would expect more from my community managers if I was your boss. Now, I understand that you have acknowledged flaws within the game and that you're now being more transparent as you keep telling us, but you're also talking to your players, the ones that keep your company afloat, thus the people who pay your wages. Remember that point. We pay your wages. It might be the company's name on the payslip, but the players keep the company going. And you're talking to us as if you're better than us, whilst having a smug grin on your face when addressing us. Arthur, if you happen to see this sort of thing needs to be stamped out, mate. You need to be stamping this behaviour out. And I know you were watching that stream. As Zach had said, in fact, Zach and Bruce had both said the fact that you were watching it. So I know you were there and I know you heard it. My only hope is the fact that you pulled them both aside and told them that sort of behaviour is not becoming of a company employee. Now, this is only one example of how they speak to us and how they address us, but there's more to address here. And this isn't going to be a bitchy sort of video, not in the slightest. But Arthur, you're not entirely off the hook here either, my friend. But not for being unprofessional, not at all. Actually, as far as I'm concerned, you're very professional from what I've seen of you. But you have said countless times, judge us at the end of June. So here we are, 1 week into July, and I'm ready to judge. Now, while you have rolled out updates, and they have been large, there's your penis joke, I cannot say that I've seen any major improvement in performance at all. Yes, the new UI things are cool, but that is stuff that should have been in the game in the first place. The UI should never have been designed like it was. But people care more about their FPS in-game than they do about the UI at this point. And the bugs are still ever present. Even just this week, it's like the game knew I hadn't been playing much. And I'd been playing other things, like I cheated on it. So I log in, I went to go land on a planet, and then I go to disembark from my ship, and I have my player just launch into the atmosphere. And I'm just free-falling, trying to Alt F4 my way out of the game so I don't kill myself. I've also stood on top of invisible rocks. This was the same play session, where I could see the shadow underneath my feet, but there's no rock there. I've had my SRV nearly absolutely totaled while racing across a flat. I smashed into a visible wall. Wham! And nearly killed my SRV. Ship skins just not showing up when I try to apply a new skin to a ship or preview it. Just not showing. Don't know why. That's a new one for me. And all the other things I've had to deal with before, like low FPS on planets. Yes, I still drop to 35 frames per second when looking at certain rocks on planets. Which, by the way, generally all look the same. However, here we are. You said before that words are cheap. You repeated it numerous times. Words are cheap. We want to show you via actions. And yes, you're right. Words are cheap. As is once again being proven by at least a couple of things I can think of. Namely, the dev stream that turned into nothing more than a small, kind of semi-pointless forum post. That all it did was prove the fact of the game is more borked than anyone knew, and the fact that you have no idea how to fix it. And also, you effectively unofficially told us you're delaying consoles. Which, if you recall, I actually said a few weeks ago that I believed was actually going to be happening anyway, before Frontier said anything about it. But you see no way of fixing this, although you have a planned route in mind, potentially. So, talk is cheap. Judge us by our actions. By the end of June, the game is not much better off. Your weekly news updates are now fortnightly, and your monthly dev streams have moved to be nothing more than a forum post. So, and I quote, nothing gets lost in translation. You are right. Talk is cheap, Arthur. And sadly, your company should be traded on the penny stocks, given how cheap your words turned out to be. Now, I'm not blaming you as a person, because you're not the one in charge of developing the game. However, I'm talking about the company here. Let's go one further and talk about just how cheap words can be. Let's address ship interiors for a minute. And no, this is not an I want ship interior thing, though I would like them. But it highlights just how out of touch FDEV is with their player base, or what their player base wants. Now, I'd like to address a couple of things here. Number one, I heard you say that if the community really wants ship interiors, then to let you know, and you would flag it to the devs. Come on, mate. I would still class myself as a new player to the game. I don't have thousands of hours. I have 800 and something hours in-game. But even I knew just how badly people wanted ship interiors. So that is either a poor choice of words from you, or you and your company are very, very out of touch with the people who pay your wages, the players, the shareholders, because let's face it, there are players who are shareholders as well. Now let's take a look back to a few years ago. Either David Braben misled people on the Kickstarter, or the lead community manager is being told to lie to us. Here's a clip of David Braben stating that there would be ship interiors, and that the ships, and indeed the game, was being designed around that.
Another example that we've built into the structure of the game is ship interiors. Now, a lot of people have seen, you've seen that we're designing all the ships with the interiors in mind, how the cargo is unloaded, all of that sort of thing. how damage occurs. And that's because that another thing that we are doing, again down the line, is that you will be able to walk around inside your ship. You'll be able to get out of your ship, walk around inside space stations, other vehicles, all of that sort of thing.
Now, Arthur, you said on a Super Cruise News that what we were asking for was, and I quote, a fundamental change to the game by asking for them.
Let's be frank about this. What you're asking for is a fundamental change to the game.
Oh, gotcha.
So you're asking for us to create these giant customizable units of space to be multi-crewed, to then fly through in the speed of time that we're doing with Odyssey on a one-to-one scale of the galaxy. It's not a small task to take.
Which one is it? Either the game was designed with this in mind from the beginning, and you are not being truthful now, or FDEV misled players from the very start and had no intention ever of putting in ship interiors. It is one way or the other. It has to be one or the other. There is no grey area here with the words that were used. So here's another couple of clips of Arthur's thoughts on ship interiors and how it plays into the gameplay loop in the minds of the developers.
And it simply is, at the moment, it doesn't add enough value to the gameplay loops. That is what is the belief behind the development team, i.e. that the complexity of add this in, and it's not just adding in a ship interior like are in other games. It's then when you go in and you add a ship interior and you have all the various modules laid out in different locations and how it's going to look, and then be able to walk around them. And then it's I've landed at base, I'm under attack and I want to get away, but it's taking me 30 seconds to run to the top of my Anaconda because this is now a one-to-one scale of my ship and I've got to go for every single door, etc., and I've been blown up and this isn't fun anymore. Or I'm now bored because I just want to get on my ship and I'm sick and tired because I want to land, get out. It's great to have, and I can see it from both sides. I love the immersion stuff. I'm all over it. And I think it's fantastic. But I also look at it from the other point of view. If this doesn't add anything, it's going to get boring very quickly for people after that first 10, 15 times. If you're in a big ship and it takes you 30, 40 seconds to get through your ship to get off a planet.
We discussed, everything done with Odyssey is purely based around longevity of gameplay and stuff like the sheer scale of these ships to sort of, it would be fun, in my opinion, and I'm happy to be at odds with different people in the chat, which I'm sure I will be. It would be fun to run up the steps the first 5, 6, 7 times, but then after you've done that 1,000 times, you're probably going to be a little bit more, I just need to get into my ship. And especially if you are leaving someplace in a hurry in a big ship, you probably wouldn't want to be spending 10 minutes running down the corridors as people are laying into your ship. So a lot of this stuff is done to enhance the gameplay and to focus on really those core gameplay loops which we spoke about. But for me, I think it's something I'm used to, and it's there. You've seen it now. That is the transition.
Yeah.
I have to say that in my opinion, you and they are completely wrong, mate. I've been playing Star Citizen for the last few days, and I cannot tell you just how much this adds to the player experience. It is not just a valuable asset to the game, it's freaking amazing. What they're doing over there is leaps and bounds ahead of anything that Frontier are thinking of. They're not boring, it doesn't get repetitive, I don't get sick of running through my ship. It's freaking fantastic. Now, while I'm addressing that same stream, there were a couple other things I want to address, and that is that Arthur said that they felt that Alpha was a success, and they got what they wanted from it. Now, yes, this sounds like me going in on Arthur, but that's not the case. And if for some reason you see this, mate, I'm not just blindly going after you. It just happens to be the fact that you were the man that said these things. So therefore, unfortunately, you're the one that's publicly accountable. However, you/he, you did say that on stream. And remember, he does speak for FDEV here. I struggle to see that any part of the alpha was a success. It was a mess from start to finish. So what part was a success? You lost pre-orders. We know that. You lost players. We know that. And you lied to your players about just how much further on the game was that you were playing compared to what the players were playing in alpha. We know that as well. So I fail to see the success here, mate. I cannot believe that Frontier Developments, a publicly traded company, sets their standards for success so low. Nothing here was a success. To put my feelings towards Odyssey into perspective, I said before that I had hundreds of hours in game, not thousands, but I do have over 800 hours in Horizons. And that's going to go up still. Since Odyssey launched, I've played less than 30 hours of it. And I'm not even joking here. Less than 30 hours of Odyssey. Because it's just unplayable. I like the graphics, don't get me wrong. The graphics are awesome. The space stuff, all you happens to do is just fly through space, nothing's changed for you. But I want to kind of go on the ground, on foot, and explore. But the frame rate is terrible. Jumping from 144 FPS to 35 on a planet is so jarring and gives you a headache that I just would rather not play it. I'll come back when it's fixed, if it ever does get fixed. But most of those 30 hours was gathering footage. Nothing here is a success, Arthur. So, there we have it, folks. That is just how out of touch Frontier developments are with their own customers and their own player base. I hope it changes. I just don't see it changing. So, that leads me nicely onto the channel. Where is it going? What will I be doing? What are my plans? Well, one of the reasons I haven't done a video for a while is I've been trying out other things and having to think about where I want things to go. As well as obviously life getting in the way, as I explained, and mother coming down and blah, 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 blah. Well, one thing's for sure. I may dislike Frontier developments at the moment, but I still love Elite Dangerous. That won't be changing. I don't think that'll ever change. However, FDEV no longer deserve 100% of my channel time. They just don't. I was hoping, when I launched the channel, the Odyssey would be a success, even though I put out a video saying the fact that I think Frontier have just killed their own game. Still could be the case. But I was hoping to be here now kind of doing like really cool content about what I wanted to do with the game and how I was enjoying the game and be really positive and everything else. And it just hasn't gone that way. And I'm sick of being that negative Nelly. I feel that Elite is on a knife edge at the moment, and the liberties they're taking with their customers' faith in them could ultimately push people away for good. Or push more people away, should I say. They've already pushed players away. The player base, if you look at Steam, is less than half of what it was before Odyssey launched. So I think it's on a knife edge at the minute, and I'm genuinely worried about the future of Elite. I'm kind of hoping the fact that they decide to not join Odyssey stuff with Horizon, they keep it as separate, and then I can just go back to Horizons and play the game I love. Which obviously is an option now, but if I swap and change, I'm still losing my key bindings on my HOTAS every single time I chop and change. So I just don't do it at the minute. It's just too much of an inconvenience. There's other things I could do with my time. So anyway, back to the channel. What's going to be happening? So I'm going to be very original here. Can you tell what I'm going to say? I'm going to start covering Star Citizen. I know, shock. Whoa, how original, I know. But I'm going to start covering Star Citizen, and I'm going to also cover some No Man's Sky as well. I've started playing both of these games, and honestly, I've had a freaking blast in both of them. I don't want to go into too much detail in this video, but I will be giving my thoughts on them in other videos coming up. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun in them, and I can see the attraction of both games. To me, No Man's Sky is a pick-up, put-down game where you can have fun. Yes, it's a bit farming simulator-y. And honestly, Star Citizen, nowhere near as bad as people are making out. My lord, I get better performance from that than I do from Odyssey. I don't get any frame rate drops or anything like that. So that's going to be the plan going forward. I'm going to start covering all three games. So if you play either of the two that I've mentioned, or if you're playing Elite Dangerous still, and you want to share any screenshots, feel free to join the Discord and share them on there. I'm always looking for screenshots of Elite Dangerous. I love the way the game looks. But that also now extends to Star Citizen. What a pretty game. And No Man's Sky. Cartoonish, but very pretty in its own right as well. So go and chuck some pictures on there for me. They'll appear in videos and everything else. And we've got a little community going over there, which, all right, it's been a bit quiet recently because I've not been on there, but we've got a nice little community going. There's No Man's Sky players on there. There is one or two Star Citizen players on there at the minute. I'm hoping to get more on there. And also there's obviously Elite Dangerous players on there as well. So are there any other games that you'd like to see me cover? I mean, I can't imagine that I'm that interested and you care about my opinion too much on other games, but if there is, then just let me know in the comments below. And let me know if you're playing any of the games that I've been on about as well. And if you're still playing Odyssey, let me know if you're still playing it, if you're enjoying it or not, or if you've gone back to Horizons, just let me know. Let's have a chat in the comments. So, until the next video, which I promise will not be as far away as this one was, I have been Just Dave, as always, reminding you beautiful, beautiful people to stay elite and stay dangerous. And now I've just realised, sod it. I'm going to have to find a new ending as well now. Bugger. Oh well, see ya.